Welcome back to the convention centre here in Durban, and it's an absolute pleasure being with you here as we broadcast on the Intra-African Trade Fair 2021 first day, scheduled to open at around about 8 o'clock. I suppose that's about 15 minutes from now, and we'll be seeing lots of people coming through these passageways and doorways that are exhibiting whatever it is that they have to offer for the continent, talking about trading within different African countries. And you know, it's quite a scary scenario when you look at that 16% of trade within the continent is only done intra-African. Now, when you compare us to other continents, there is just so much more trade that gets done, whether we talk Europe, the Americas, Asia. This is a big issue that needs to be dealt with, and this is one of those kind of interventions from the continent that you'll find that they're trying to promote this trade. However, there are lots of stumbling blocks in the way, and those, of course, are the ones that need to be addressed as well, saying that about 10,000 people should be passing through these passageways within the next week. So it's going to be quite a big event that takes place. 5 heads of state expected this morning to address the opening plenary, including our President Cyril Ramaphosa, who will officially welcome everyone here. Quite interesting that South Africa was not meant to be the host this year. In fact, I think we were scheduled to host in 2024. This was meant to be in Kigali, Rwanda this year, but things apparently were not going according to plan, and then it was taken up by South Africa. So this was planned in just a few months. So quite an accolade to South Africa for stepping up and actually hosting such an important forum. But let's talk a little bit more about what we can expect here from the youth's point of view, because when you look at unemployment on the continent, not just here in South Africa, unemployment, there's talk that there are at least 60% unemployment amongst the youth on the continent. And this is a very big number, and a number that should be scary to every single one of us. But let's see how a fair like this can actually assist in terms of development and trade when it comes to different youth on the continent. So talking to us here about this is Tami Zondi. He's Director of Youth Economic Empowerment from the Department of Economic Empowerment, but he's also here at Development. He's also heading up the youth section of the entire fair. Great to have you, Tami. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much, Leanne, and greeting to the viewers at home. And thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I think that having a specific area that's completely designated to the youth is vital. When you talk about the unemployment on the continent affecting the youth the most, I mean, this is something that's needed. So how do we plan on letting this work for the youth of the continent?
Yeah, let me pick it up from what you say, the importance of having youth integrated into the fair. I think first and foremost, we must thank our governments. I'm talking all African governments, the countries that are being involved, obviously including our own government being the host government, that when the fair was being conceptualized and planned, even the first one that was held in Egypt, coming into this one, Africa says young people must be part and parcel of what we're doing if we're talking economic development and growth. If you look at the fair itself, it has about a couple of key verticals, as you may have heard, things like your trade and investment, your automotive, as well as your KNEX, where we're talking Creative Africa Nexus. Youth is one of those key verticals. So youth has been elevated to be an equal vertical of the fair, to make sure that you not just talk about youth as a by-the-way thing, but it is one of the key elements that we focus on. So that is a very, it's a mouthful and a serious step by our government. Now, having done that and having had a youth vertical in the fair, it means that we're going to have youth from all the 40 African participating countries that are coming here. In fact, that are already here, because they started coming over the weekend. Youth from all over the countries of Africa, including our very own. Of course, as KZN, we're lucky that the biggest cohort of young people will be from here. We're expecting plus minus 200 youth overall. Those are active participating companies. Obviously, we're going to have thousands of youth coming in as day visitors just to get the information. But remember, as I said, besides young people just coming in to get just the information, we wanted to have key youth businesses that are going to be part of deal negotiation, that are going to be part of exhibitors, that are going to be part of, going to a number of B2Bs that are going to be happening here. And what we're also doing is to ensure that as much as we've got the youth vertical, head of states and industry players are going to go to the youth pavilion and address the youth, but we also want the youth to be integrated in the other pavilion. As such, you'll find that if you go to the KNEX, you're finding young people in the creative space showcasing what they've got to do. So we are hoping, as they talk of the deals that would be concluded here, that some of those billions would be going to youth companies.
Yeah, we can only hope, I suppose. Yeah. But let's talk a little bit more about the kind of offering that the youth are bringing here. I mean, is it? I know you mentioned just a couple of them, but perhaps you can give us some examples of companies that will be represented here, whether it be skills, whether it be IT, clothing, the arts, whatever it may be. Where are the youth represented primarily within this?
So even in selecting the top youth participating companies from the continent, from the country, and from KZN, we're very particular in terms of looking at the sectors. That's where it begins, because you want to make sure that you've got an array of balanced sectors. So you've got a number of young people, especially manufacturing is topping the list, because we wanted to show that Africa can make things. So if you're talking the manufacturing space, you've got young people who are producing furniture, you've got young people who are producing metal and steelworks, you've got young people, of course, who are in the textile producing clothing. But in a nutshell, you've got a number of them that are within the manufacturing space. We also do have a number of young people who are within the creative space, those who are producing film and television content. There's quite a number of them. And as you know, that part of the focus of the fair, as I said earlier on, is KNEX. So we had to bring young people to also come in and raise their hand and say, we can produce, we can give the continent high quality content beyond the continent into the world. We also have young people who are within the various professional sectors. I know that we have young people, for instance, who are consultant in the space of maritime. Because remember, these young people, some of them are actually, most of them, if not all of them, they are graduates, so they are also consultants in various spaces, maritime, finance, legally. Yeah. So you've got a balance of sectors amongst these young people that are going to be exhibiting here. The one other big sector, it's ICT as well. One of the youth company, especially from here, from KZN, there's one called EdNote, which we funded as a province about 2 years ago. They are doing fiber connection into the rural areas as well as townships. They are here exhibiting to say we can make connectivity available to everyone. So that's what young people are showcasing.
It does. I mean, it sounds amazing that it is a whole host of companies that are here. However, there are always fears that these kind of gatherings turn into talk shops, and you'll find everybody exhibiting here and sitting and waiting and hoping that this does happen. I mean, how do you ensure that this actually does turn into a success? Because, it's one thing having heads of states all gathering and talking, but to have the actual deals signed, and particularly at the youth, and not just your usual big partners, because everybody tends to go to those guys to say, okay, well, they're established, we know how to do business with them, and it's easy. But these guys, I'm not sure if we want to go there, it might be a little bit too risky. So how do we ensure that they can actually succeed?
Leanne, all it takes is a concerted effort. And as I said, the first step of saying let's recognize the youth and bring them to interact with big business, it's a huge step on its own. Now, as you say, to make sure that we actually see the results, it means the likes of us who are working for government, who are here, we have to be working all day for the whole week, making sure that we link young people to the relevant, players in the industries or spaces where they play. So it won't happen by magic. It's concerted effort, but at the same time, even young people themselves. I mean, even those that are not here, it goes to young people maybe that are somewhere at home to say, if you've got a product and a service that you want to offer, do it like you're the best in that space, because you are also giving us, who are your mouthpiece, something to go to the industry and say, young people have risen their hand. Can you please do business with them? Yeah. So I think it's going to take concerted effort.
Just one final closing point. The difficulty of doing trade on the continent, because, that is one of the stumbling blocks. Obviously, we do know that. But what are the things that the youth, the businesses, the younger businesses are highlighting to you to say, listen, this is where we need help?
Well, I think generally around the continent, if you look at youth entrepreneurship activity, first and foremost, we're very happy. If you look at the GEM, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, it's been increasing year in and year out. So it's getting better. So it means while those stumbling blocks are there, the governments and the private sector are doing something to help the young people. But of course, young people will always, the main issue will always be the issue of access to finance. You know, to say, we've got the product, but for us to be able to import, how are we getting assisted? We are happy that the biggest or the main promoter of the trade is Afreximbank. So we know that there's a lot of industry capital captains that are coming in to interact with young people. So because that is the main stumbling block, being finance. And we hope that through fairs like this, we'll then be able to assist youth across the continent to be able to get finance and then do business all over.
All right. Good luck. We hope to see some great tangible results, particularly for the youth coming out of this. It's happening for the rest of the week, so this is hasn't even started as yet. This is the early worm catches the early bird catches the worm, right? That's what we're doing here on Morning Live, catching it nice and early before things begin. So anywhere between 8 and 9, we should see things beginning, and that, of course, is happening in the big hall that we're right next to there. Perhaps maybe in our next crossing in the next hour, we'll be able to take you inside and see if things have started, or just to give you a little bit of an understanding as to what you'll be looking at for the next week. A big moment for South Africa, for the continent, and of course for the province of KwaZulu-Natal, as we come to you live from the Nkosi Albert Lutuli International Convention Centre. And it's been an absolute pleasure being with you on SABC2. Tammy, thank you. Good luck. I hope things go very, very well for you here.
Thank you so much, Leanne. We hope for the best for young people.
Great.
And the continent as a whole.
Indeed, absolutely. All right.